I'm going to bring the whole fucking diseased, corrupt temple down on your head. It's going to be biblical.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Patriots Across the Pond with Elisa and Stu, Thursday Thunder, episode 34. Have a little story to tell you. I have been looking forward to this show for, about a month since I made this booking with Scott McKay, Patriots Streetfighter. I probably told every single human being that would listen that he was coming on a show because he was so instrumental in my awakening and actually keeping me sane during the 2020 election and thereafter. So every week when we have guests, Elisa, who is the communications director here at Patriots Across the Pond, confirms with everyone. Well, I think I was so busy telling everyone about Scott McKay coming on our show that I forgot to confirm. Now, he did ask that I send the link to him in the morning of, because he gets so inundated with emails and texts and such. But this is on me, okay? We cannot get in touch with Scott right now. Again, I hope everything's okay. You know, I don't want to make a joke if something really happened, but my inclination is that maybe, you know, he's a very busy man and perhaps need a little jingle, you know, the day before to remind him, which of course I didn't do because I was so excited. So we have a few messages into him. We're hopeful that maybe he gets this and he comes on late, but my deepest apologies to everyone and to myself because I'm really disappointed, but we'll make it all happen and all work out. And the good news is that Mr. McKay has confirmed with us that he's going to be at the Sedona, Arizona Awakening Summit in October. So we are definitely on the radar in some way, shape, or form. So anyway, how are you today, Stu?
Yes.
Do I get a demerit or I know I was director of communications, but am I now pushed down to trainee?
Yeah, we were just talking about this before we came on. What name would you have if we had some merch in our shop and we had a special one each for us? And I was something like production and design director. And Elisa's going, communications and liaison director. Or, you know, we were going through names and stuff like that. I said, we have to be communications trainee now, haven't we?
Programming, yeah.
Stand up, show everyone your T-shirt.
I have my Patriot Streetfighter T-shirt on and everything.
Oh, bless you. Yeah, I've got loads of stuff down written to ask Scott. I'm sure if he doesn't come on today that he will get straight back to us and we will find a space to book him in as soon as possible. So
sometimes things happen. It's out of your control. And
I do like our guests to be at the start because I like them to be sitting there. I like to watch their eyes when their intro's playing because it gets them all fired up.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. So that's good.
All right. Well, we'll see. So anyway, apologies, guys, but we're so glad you're here. Thanks for always supporting us and being here with us on the lives. what else is going on, Stu? There's like a lot of Fast and Furious things happening, a lot of stuff coming out. We got a lot of weather weirdness over in the UK, right, with the heat.
Yeah, it's only about 30 degrees today, which in your language is about 86 Fahrenheit, foreign language.
What is the usual temperature like around this time for over there? Because 86 isn't terribly hot over in like New York and Long Island in, you know, this time of year.
No, but it's 30. It's meant to be 36 tomorrow, which is,
wow.
Yeah, that's going to be just pushing 100.
Yeah, that's hot. Okay.
96, 97. Right, I'm sitting in front of my fan here.
Okay.
Right, I've got a cycling fan there that I use for upstairs when I'm on my turbo trainer, cycling in the winter. That's how I used to stay warm a lot of the time in the winter. It's much cheaper than putting the heating on.
Yeah.
My heating is like 18 kilowatt hours electric boiler I've got, so I don't use it very much. But that's fine. I've got plenty of clothes. And yeah, so I've got that down with me. And honestly, that's an absolute game changer. Because it's sitting here under the stairs. It's lovely. I've got a t-shirt on and a hat on.
Oh, perfect.
If I walk away from this, well, I'm only wearing a t-shirt at the moment while I'm live on a podcast.
Right.
Because it's so warm.
Well, I'm checking with the temperature. The temperature here today is 78. So that's actually kind of nice, you know, and I do have like a little breeze coming through my window. So in my house, I have central air, but it shuts off, you know, like it'll shut off. Like if I set it at a certain constant temperature, and then if it doesn't feel it needs to kick on, it doesn't. So, and it's quite pleasant. So, but there was some talk about the potential of this heat being maybe the reason in the UK to, you know, maybe shut off electricity, or, you know, with the narrative that maybe that, you know, it's going to be too much. And maybe that's sort of a lockdown, so to speak, in order to address a lot of the arrests or, you know, taking people down. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Now, right now, we're getting closer and closer, right? Next Saturday is July 4th. So I think if anything's going to happen in the States, let's put it that way, it's going to happen pretty soon, as not to interfere with the, you know, with the celebrations. And if it doesn't happen before, then maybe right after. But I know Simon Parkes was talking a little bit about being prepared. Yeah, we put out a 13-minute video, didn't he, about this sort of stuff. He was talking. I didn't agree with a lot of it. Well, you and I were discussing it, but he was. I think there. Even Axios 4B is posting this is going down globally, right? At the same time, and Simon Parkes wasn't talking about that. He was talking about it'd be localized here. A lot of people wouldn't knew it was going on. But then, how do you alert everyone to the fact that, you know, what we've heard about the EBS? And I mean, if loads of people say we're going to see an 8-hour movie playing on repeat for 10 days and all that, but nowhere does it say any of that in the Q drops. And I think if we have one place to use as a source of our information in this awakening, apart from what we dig on and stuff, it is the Q drops. So, you know, in the Q drops, it says where they're going to fire the EBS. It's going down well, but you know, do you know what I mean? And it'll be no civil unrest and all these things. So we've got to wait and see. Wendy just put in here, has Stewie got his tomahawk ready too? I haven't got a tomahawk actually, but I might see if Scott can send me one actually for the next one. And E. Crawford just said, I want a proud Q-tard t-shirt. Well, get yourself one of those. 117% Q-tarded. That's for my little collection. I love that.
Yeah, I've got quite a lot of t-shirts. So
that's where we are.
Shirley said, I did used to like Simon Parks, but then he started talking about his mum was having a relationship with an alien 4 times a year and various other things I can imagine. There's lots of truthers out there that diss other truthers, and I don't really like that. I find a lot of things truthers say quite funny, but I think a lot of the stuff Simon Parks has said over the years has held weight, and I don't think he's full of shit when I sit there listening to him. You know what I mean?
I don't either. To be honest with you, his information, like what he talks about with the alien and his experience and his mom, that didn't bother me at all. Like that didn't make me not, because especially at the time when a lot of this was going down, like 5 years ago, and we were all, really coming together to listen to different podcasters and truthers. And Simon was on the scene a lot, and he gave a lot of what I would consider to be some pretty solid, and the way he would come across, his presentation, the information at that time and I just don't see somebody getting that kind of information if they're crazy. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. And the other thing is as well, if the White House and God are watching all, anyone that is doing this sort of stuff and knows they're telling lies and bullshitting people, they're going to get found out in the end.
Yeah.
Which is why I watch everyone. Phil God, Goose Good, the whole lot. This is why they're all characters in this greatest whodunit ever of the podcasting world and the awakening. So it's good. And Billy Club just said, in reference to Shirley's, I used to like Simon Parks, but I used to like Charlie Ward. But now Charlie Ward, right? Whether all his information has been kosher or not, Charlie Ward has helped so many people
100%.
In this awakening, right? It's just one of those things. This is the thing about people. We are all different. If we were all the same, all like the same people, we'd just be NPCs and clones, like all those people were trying to wake up. And we're not. Yeah. We're individuals. This is why we go down different paths. We're, we all vibrate on different wavelengths, and we've all got different histories. We've all had different educations and stuff, different life experience. So we're not all going to be the same. So some of us are going to gel with certain people and some of us are not. But it's not always the deliverer of any information. It's the information. It's like I could watch a Charlie Freak 4-hour show in the past. And this is in the days that before I learned how to watch stuff on 1.5 and 1.75 speed, right? That's when I used to go upstairs and sit on my bike for 4 hours and turbo trainer because I knew how to do like a 100k bike ride, right?
Right.
That sort of thing. But I could listen to a 4-hour Charlie Freak show just to get 5 minutes of information. It's like a new bit of information I'd heard. And I used to do that all the time and I still do now. Most of these things I watch and updates and podcasts and stuff, it's going in one ear as I'm doing something else. I'm just my senses activate when they say something I haven't heard.
Yeah. And, I just want to say something too, like the world of podcasting has greatly expanded, over the last 6 years, but there were certain people that had a very prominent voice, not only because there weren't as many podcasters, but because they were so hardworking. They were on there every day. They took the time to talk about these things, to have guests, to go down these rabbit holes. And, Simon was one of those people. He was very regular with his information. Charlie Ward, Charlie Ward to me used to really be a very calming effect, I felt, and I think maybe as they started to either lessen or they pulled away a little bit or whatever, I think, then we start following other podcasters. But I think as we grew with our awakening, all of us, as we developed, closer bonds with different people and we found our community and our family, whether it was online or in person, then we got attracted to different, other truthers and other people that were out there. So I think collectively, everybody's had a very important part, a mission, information, and that, like you, that's why I appreciate everyone that's taken the time and put themselves out there. And whether they were there for information or disinformation, it really doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that pretty much after the 2020 election and COVID, we were all not in a great place. Whether we complied, we didn't comply, that has nothing to do with it. There was a sense of feeling like, what in the hell is going on? Where's this going? And I think that all of these people that came on the scene were very, very helpful to letting us feel like, especially if we had families that thought we were crazy or didn't understand us through the years, that it helped build a community. So that's how I view it.
Yeah, definitely. And Robbie, I love bacon, put a lovely comment in here. Yeah, Charlie Ward saved me. That was the man I needed to hear from every day at the beginning.
Aww.
Right? Now, listen, David Icke is one of these people that has been a major catalyst on my awakening, right? And, you know, Alex Jones and people like that in the early days, over 20 years ago, right? But I rarely listen to David Icke now, right? He's just a one-trick pony. He maybe he's playing his role, maybe he's part of the White Hat movement and stuff, because he hasn't, you know, been taken out by any dark side yet, has he? Maybe he's a 2.0, all these things. But he and I actually think it was sort of very interesting, the fact that he won't get on board with Trump, and he won't get on board with Q and all these sorts of stuff. But then we all say, don't worship false idols, right? Do your own research, play a part. So maybe Trump wants David Icke to do that in this country because he wants people researching. And what David Icke says all the time is that it is down to us, we the people. Whether he talks about all this other stuff, and you know, and we have talked about, you know, what David Wilcox says, that the potentially for cosmic karma, the dark side have to tell us what they're going to do to us, and if we don't say no, right, they take it as a yes, sort of thing. We've discussed all these things in the past,
right.
But if they were going to tell us their agenda for the world, and David Icke was one of them, right, and they put him in there to talk about reptilians and fake vaccination and all this stuff, and make him out to be a loony, right, that would be us laughing at David Icke, saying, you know, like that, or they take it as yes, we've put all the information out through him and they haven't stood up. You know, there's many different ways you can look at this. But I owe David Icke a lot. I've met David Icke, and I wouldn't say a bad word about him. I don't understand why he does this, but maybe I've just answered my own question there, sort of thing. Everything that happens, you have to think about your head in multiple scenarios. Who's doing it? The dark side, the good side. If the good side are doing it, why are they doing that? If the dark side are doing it, are they doing it for the, you know, how many of them are left?
Yeah, and one of the things that that stuck with me from our podcast with Janine the other day, which I found interesting, we had, you know, at the end we asked, like, how long is this going on? You know, meaning the movie, right? I mean, obviously this is, we know things with the good and evil and fighting and everything has been going on for a very long time. But one thing I found really interesting was when she said, maybe according to what the card said, we don't know this for fact, that around 20 years is when the White Hats started using psyops the way you know, also as the dark side has used for many years. And so as a result of that, right, 20 years is a pretty long time. We're looking at a movie with many actors, many roles, many scenes, and like, we just don't know, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody has, and I think there's a reason a little bit that some of these podcasters were very much in the forefront. You know, they were in the forefront. Maybe they were getting information. Maybe they had a certain personality or a certain way about them that allowed them to, you know, invite a lot of people in to help this awakening along. I mean, there's so much psyopery going on. And that's why I'm very grateful you know, to all these people who were podcasting long before we started, for just, I don't know, just helping, even if it was to make you disagree with them, you know, and go do your own research.
Well, Thomas has just put that, and I just want to say about this as well. Everyone's got their different, right? Robert David Steele, yeah, he was working a lot with Sasha Stone, Anonymous, but then Anonymous got infiltrated, didn't they? And now we think in the past, but Kirsten W used to be one of my absolute favourites.
Me too.
I was gutted when she went. She was superb. I used to adore her.
And she was on with Scott. I remember when Scott first said, like, you're like the female version of me. And he started, you know, doing shows with her. So I think what in those days, you know, it's not that long ago, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, it was so raw. It was just so, and I'm not saying we don't try to be raw, but there's maybe a little more sophistication that's happened. People have gotten a little more polished. They've gotten more, but you know, back then it was like, I'm just in my living room. Not that we aren't, but look, we have these nice backdrops and pretty things. You know, back then it was just like whatever they had on the desk, you saw, you know, if the dog was barking, he was barking. Like it was just, we just were there, I think, to feel that we're not alone, and that there's some sense to the chaos that we're seeing. I'm so sorry. This freaking.
I thought he was meant to be there at 1.
No, he's Spanish. No disrespect, but the way he said it, he meant he couldn't come at 1.
At 1, I'd be there at 1.
So it's okay. God bless him. He's a wonderful guy, but I begged him to come like after 12 every Thursday, and
you can guarantee. On a Thursday podcast, 3:31, he's me. You'll watch Elisa's mic going on, off, the dog barking, the dog having to go like that. Quiet down. Anyway, Thomas Litch just put a perfect comment in here. And it said, they are teaching us discernment, right? And the whole point about this is that we are being taught to hone our discernment skills. And everyone we watch, whether it's Charlie Ward, Simon Parks, Kirsten W, Phil Godlewski, you know, Dan Scavino, General Flynn, you know, loads of people are General Flynns, you know, all this sorts of stuff. All these people are teaching us to think for ourselves and get better at finding out who's lying to us, who's not lying to us, and all these sorts of things. Thomas has a perfect comment. Sylvia said, I think Janine was on Mark Atwood's channel, who said David Icke was working with the White Hats. Billy said, brilliant. It's a very mixed movement, but we all want the same ending, and we will get there soon, I'm sure. Yes, it's getting closer and closer. Wendy, Peter's friend, I watched Charlie, and that's how I found Jason Q. See, everything moves on to something else, right? And this is what it's all about. You know, I used to watch Charlie Ward, and it was all the guests that were coming on and stuff like that, and sending me off with different tangents. That's probably how I found out about Janine, you know, because, and I said when Janine was on, there's so many podcasts out there that talk down to you, or they take ages about it, they fluff about and all these things. Janine is straight in there. Here's the cards. And, you know, she likes to have a laugh and all this, and she's one of us. She talks like one of us. Right into Q and stuff. So, and that's what I was looking for. You know, if I want to learn about the Bible, I know nothing about it. I read a book, Learn the Bible in 24 Hours by Dr. Chuck Missler, right? And that was how I got the gist of it. But I would sort of go to someone like Bo Polney or Amanda Grace, right? Now, are they telling me things that are true or not true? I don't know. I'm using my discernment there to listen to what they're saying. But they simplify what's going down, and I always revert what's happening biblically with what's going on now, and Trump and the White Hats and Q and everything, and that's what I like. That's what I'm into. If people, my thing is, right, if people are trying to educate me, but they've never had any interest in Q, apart from one person probably, John Herald, right, who did the Devolution, who's heavily into Q now and all this stuff. If people don't come from some sort of background of the Q drops and stuff, I don't really want to listen to them. But that's just for me, right. You know, because I believe that is the greatest white hat military operation unfolding into the public to let us actually know the shit is going on. Whereas we've just been talking about it for years, listening to Benjamin Fulford 15, 20 years ago on his BenjaminFulford.net, reading his blog, Drumbelow Melchizedek, you know, David Wilcott, David Icke, Alex Jones, all these people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's been quite a journey for all of us.
Still don't like to hear Trump being called. It's truly a blessing we have him, from Sylvia. It's totally right. And in fact, I have played it before, a great video on the end, and I was gonna say to Scott, this is a great one for all those milquetoast pussies out there at the end, and I'm gonna play that. But yeah, we are.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, think about this. If we didn't have these podcasters, right? I think a lot of, listen, I'm going to share. After I was sitting in my bed alone, because in 2016, when we had the first election with Trump and Hillary, my kids were much younger, and they were fighting with their friends about how they didn't like Hillary and why, because, you know, I was telling them stuff. Then they went to high school and they got brainwashed. Okay. And then during the 2020 election, of course, Trump was this and Trump was that. And, you know, and so we were divided. And I just stood my ground, but I didn't preach, because that's the worst thing you could do to a kid, right? Let them believe what they want. I remember in my head, after we found out, like, all this talk about the EBS, I was like, good, let them have to hear this, you know, because. But that night, on election night in 2020, I was in my bedroom all alone watching it, and stayed up super late and saw the fuckery that went on. Okay. I was literally having a freaking freak out panic attack. Okay. And all I could say was, it's a coup against the Republic. Like, I couldn't stop saying that for like 5 days. I got such bad stomach aches. I had to go to a gastro, which at that point I was still going to doctors, but I went to the gastroenterologist because I was like, I don't know what this pain is from. I was so distraught about this. And if it wasn't for hearing these little random videos that they started putting out, like I remember Steve Pajenik was one of them talking about the coup. Then Charlie Ward came on the scene, and they were just like shorts at the time. But then these podcasters started having podcasters. And I can tell you, if I didn't have that hope that everything was going to be okay, even if I didn't know how it was going to be okay, I really think like I would have just been in like just so anxious 24/7. And that's what we needed, you know, that then it calmed us down. It got us out of fear, because nobody could think straight in fear. And then, you know, we all, whether we were started, you know, on an awakened path from say 9/11 or from childhood, then we were able to pick up and, you know, really dig. But for those couple of weeks, that was tough. That was like a near death experience for us as the awakened. Okay. I refused to watch the inauguration. Now, I was still in an emotional state. Had I been a little more grounded, I would have been able to, you know, but I did watch when he was leaving, and I saw those soldiers turn their back. I was like, yeah, something's not right here. They don't do that to the commander-in-chief. And the commander-in-chief doesn't get into a jalopy.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I've got a couple more comments here. It's quite funny. Shirley still waiting for the Three Gorges Dam to burst there, thanks to Kirsten W. Well, a lot of us were talking about that, weren't we, at the time? Janine said on Mark Atwood that David Icke had been replaced about 7 years ago. So, and I mean, obviously, we heard earlier that she said he was working for the White Hat, so maybe he has been replaced. You know, there's a lot. Kate said here, I don't need someone to tell me anything. I'm out and about every day. If it looks like shit, smells like shit, it's shit. It's pretty much spot on, isn't it? You know,
yeah,
a lot of them introduced us to the movement. They had us on training wheels until we could ride off on our own. Well, see, the thing is, when COVID, and just this one is there, Billy said, yeah, Bill Cooper, 100%, and Jordan Maxwell was another one.
Oh, yeah.
Now, there's people that have said David Icke used to get a lot of his information off Jordan Maxwell, you know, because Jordan Maxwell was before him.
Yep.
You know, whether that's true or not, but it's, you know, honing our discernment is the one, for sure.
Absolutely. And, you know, like, I don't know how exactly it was in London at that time, but when I say that time, I'm talking about the month, like November 2020. You know, it was because it was just such a crazy time. And then how many of us got completely lost all credibility because I was one of those people going, oh no, Biden is never going to be inaugurated and the military is going to come in and they're going to take all these people away. And then that didn't happen. So I look like, aside from the fact they already thought I was crazy, right? Because I was running around saying Michelle Obama's a man. Then on top of that, now they're like, yeah, okay. Like,
well, I'll tell you what, I felt there's a couple of times in this, I haven't had a wobble. I've just thought, oh no, what's this about? There were so many people. People have been blackpilling around me all the way through this, but I've just held my head strong, right? And I have been doing this for so long that when COVID came, right, and it's those first 2 weeks of us getting into it, finding out what was going on, was the only time I didn't really understand what was happening. But then as soon as, you know, I'd been speaking to the doctors, I didn't need a doctor's note, found these things on a website, you can make your own sign, and these badges and things like that. I was absolutely fine with it. But the only time I felt deflated really for a day, maybe, is when Biden got inaugurated, right? But I'd heard and had been listening to everyone beforehand, and 107 had been saying consistently that Biden will be inaugurated. And a lot of people going, no, he won't, and stuff. We were waiting for the Scooby-Doo ending with the old military come down and ripping his mum.
Wanted that so bad, right?
Maybe we'll get it. It's just a little bit later. But when we started, you know, everyone just dusted themselves off for a day, started looking into things, and we started looking into what was going on with the moves Trump was making by putting Christopher Miller into place and Ezra Cohen Watnick, and people were digging into this. They're going, hang about a minute, and we started learning about devolution, and John Errol came in and all these things, and it was, oh my God, this is a military operation. And we all knew that wasn't Joe Biden anyway. You know,
right.
Rubber bits and things like that. We're all talking about masks. And I have just, you know, someone, I haven't read the comments for a while, someone said, right, 4 years, Robbie, 4 years of Biden, I was sick to my stomach every single day. I wasn't. I was laughing and joking, and, you know, it was horrendous watching all these BLM riots go on, and, you know, all these sorts of things that happened over that long period of time. And then, you know, when Biden came in and we saw all these things, and it was just like, it was comical. And since Biden was gone, so many truthers that were watching all that have been going, we miss Joe. Just because of the laughter. He was like the walking meme that kept us going.
Yeah. I think that, like, I never really like, I always knew somehow that everything was going to be okay, but it just was how, you know what I mean? It was a little bit of it was a gut punch, you know. And I remember when I first heard, maybe a week after the election, couple of days, that, you know, Trump and the military were actually, I forgot who reported it or said it, they were actually watching as the votes turned, you know. Now, who knows what's true and what's not, but that was something that I felt so comforted by, you know what I'm saying, when you heard things like that everything. But it was a crazy time. And then, of course, we were consistently learning all this awful stuff. You had people like Jane.hittingtherestartbutton then coming on the scene and talking about the depths, I don't mean physical depths, but the depths of the tunnels. And then we were learning so much more about SRA and, you know, Satanists. I remember the first time I heard like how many there were. I was like, what? And you know who was really helpful during that time so much? Dave from X22.
Well, I've been listening to that is probably one of the longest things I've been listening to. I used to listen to, RT got booted, didn't it? But I used to listen to Max Kaiser a lot, doing the financials on RT. That's how I learned about Bitcoin. And we're talking When was I buying Bitcoin? 2012?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Something like that. And I'd been on this. That was 11 years after 9/11. So I'd been doing it 10 years before that. You know, I've watched so much stuff. And there's a lot of people I used to watch that I don't listen to anymore, you know, because they don't offer me anything anymore. And then, you know, as this movement comes in, you get new people come in, like Dave and Rambo, you know, have come in over the last few years and stuff. And they do a different thing. And
well, that's just it. You take it, and then sometimes, as I like to say, you graduate a little bit, right? Like, I love X22, but he is so amazing at being able to take people that still have one foot, you know, in each world, like, you know, the normie and so he's able to sort of present things from the view of where the normies are seeing, but also interpret, you know, and once you get a little bit beyond needing the interpretation, where now you're digging, right, then maybe someone like guys like Dave and Rambo kind of take that, or Matrix Codebreaker. Like, it's all this plan is so incredible that it hits everybody that needs to be touched in the way that they need to be touched. It's just so, every day I just think more and more just the brilliance.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say something then, and I can't remember what it was. I've got no idea. You were talking about Matrix Codebreaker coming in, and brilliant.
Graduating, Dave from X22,
Dave from X22. I've just completely done a blank.
And, well, I just want to also say, as far as X22, what I found so helpful with him.
Oh, that's what I was going to say.
All right, write it down. Was that he touched so much on the central banking and that aspect, right? Because so many, not all, but so many truthers were talking a lot at that time about sort of the geopolitics. But Dave really helped us with his two reports, right? The geopolitical and the economic, where he gave you that bigger picture of what, like, where the control systems were, you know, and I thought that's so important for people to understand. It's not just about the geopolitical things we see. There's a
yes, exactly. Well, when we started doing our shows with Renee, I said to him that X22 is one of the best things you can watch, and I sent it, but he doesn't do his homework. He's a very naughty boy.
He is.
And so, but that's a shame. If he just watched that 4 or 5 times a week, he'd be on top of it. But what I was going to say is, because I watch so many shows that cover so many subjects, when one of my friends or someone else comes and asks me a question, right, I can give them an answer, but I can direct them to something I've watched on one of those shows that will explain the whole picture of their question to me, you know, which is why I put so much effort in, so that and as well, if all the internet goes down and we got a communications blackout or anything like that happens, and, you know, we all start meeting up in public, right, I've got all the answers in there.
Yeah.
It helps if I sit at a computer, but I don't need it.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you a question. I just
want to say one thing as well.
Yeah,
there's a comment here that I started. Write that down so you don't forget it. Juan has suddenly started showing himself. Now, you know, that is interesting. But that one we saw recently at the Four Fighter Summit was not the same one that showed himself in Vegas, right? When he left in that sports car, that red sports car. Do you remember?
Yeah.
They were 2 different people. I've seen interviews with Juan. You know, most people have seen his boots and stuff like that. We've had him on our show. But I saw an interview with Juan and Nino. Nino was talking to the camera like this, and Juan was sitting next to him, but facing the other way. And he looked like the guy that's just recently showed himself at the Four Fighter Summit. You know, would he could have a big beard. But if he had a big beard and all that sort of stuff, I still don't understand why he's looking the other way. Now, you've got to ask yourself a question. Now, watch for Juan going on podcasts in the future. Right? Will Juan still hide his face and show his boots when he's just come out of the forefighter summit and shown himself? If he does, then you maybe think, maybe the one we've just seen had a disguise on as well.
Right.
You get me?
Yeah. The whole wand thing is a psyop in and of itself, right?
Well, I think it's a good one because he was one of the only people that said Biden was going to get inaugurated, and people, no, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
No, he said what people didn't want to be true, So what I was going to say is, I don't know about you, but I remember just having like diarrhea of the mouth. Like when I was accumulating all this knowledge, information, my eyes were opening, this never made sense. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, now it makes sense. And I was like having all these mini awakenings, and then I would be with someone and they'd ask like a very simple question, or they'd make a comment. And I'd be like, well, and then go off and just be like, and then there's this and there's that and there's it. And I didn't understand at that time about how less is more and, all that. And I do remember losing a lot of people, although I remember people going, holy shit. And then I would guide them. You know what I mean? I would guide them. I guess the most satisfying was I had 3 people at the time that the jab came out, and they were going to get their jabs. And I said, are you sure about that? And they're like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, do you know what's in it? Do you know, do you realize how short of time it took to, I was saying practical things. And those 3 people said, you know something? I am so healthy. I'm not putting anything into my body. So I feel like I saved 3 people by being, questioning and being like gentle with them about that. And then of course they were just the knuckleheads, that were yelling and screaming at me that I know what I was talking about and I'm an anti-vaxxer. And okay.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to find, because someone's just said, which social media platform does Jane.hittingtherestartbutton use? I see clips on X, but where does his original source come from? Now,
he has a website, right? Blessed to Teach or something, I think.
Blessed to Teach. That's it. I was just trying to think of that. I was going on his about here. Right. But I think it's .org, isn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah. I can't find that on Brave. I've got to do it on Google. Brave doesn't like going to a lot of websites,
Let me see if I could get it.
Because there is Blessed to Teach.
No. Is that it? Wait, hold on. I'll tell you in a minute. Let me go. I'm going to do a little search.
No, that's not it. It's not Blessed to Teach.
No. Hold on one second.
All right, you do that. I'm just going to go through a few more clips because there is a X channel that's Gene Decode, but I don't think it is Gene Decode because on his website he's got a Telegram channel and a Rumble channel. I think this is Gene's Rumble channel. Real Gene Decode.
Blessedforservice.org.
Blessed for Service, that's it.
Yeah, and so
that is Gene's Decode channel because we're on it.
Yeah.
So that's right. Real Gene Decode on there. Let me just find that.
I also think there's a fake sites on Telegram too.
I know. Blessedforservice.org, is it?
What did I just say? Blessedforservice.org. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Right. I just want to. Right. So, Gene only shows on his thing a Telegram channel, a Rumble channel, and Truth Social. So, this is why I don't think that X account, it's got thousands and thousands of followers, and a lot of people we follow are following it. But I can't, I can't guarantee that's Gene's channel. But right. These 3 channels, right, are Gene's. Yeah, 42,000 followers on there. His Telegram channel is Will in kill brackets, Jane Decode, 60,194 followers, and his Truth Social.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have to excuse myself for 1 second because the dog got very riled and she has to go out. So just give me 2 seconds.
You do that. I'll just wish for a few of these comments then. I was trying to buy Bitcoin when it was 30 cents, then 50 cents, scaring the poor girls at the bank, trying to figure out how to buy it. Yeah, Bitcoin used to be really, really difficult to buy. You know, we all wanted to get it, but couldn't get hold of it. In the end, I was buying mine off eBay, and I only bought 3 and I haven't got them anymore. They've helped me survive over this last 6 years. And I bought myself a couple of bikes and a few other bits and some Technics 1210s and various other things. But yeah, and I put a bit into XRP in the last one and that, which is, that's fine. You know, we've heard a lot about Bitcoin being bad, and I wouldn't want to have a lot of Bitcoin anyway. But when I was buying it, it was about 45 quid for a Bitcoin. And I bought mine on eBay, funnily enough, because that was the easiest place to find it. Once you get a wallet, you buy it on eBay, you just send. Imagine buying them on eBay now. So yeah, let me just, I'm reading these as I go. My whole life has been an awakening process without Q. Then about 3 years ago, I retired and had the time to research. Yeah. Yeah. What one is it? Yeah, I don't know. X22 Dave has a cash and dividend unions on. He's well up there for the moment. I think he's part of this. You know, he's been going for so long. That I think he is a white hat operative for sure. Another guy that doesn't show his face.
Who's that?
Dave, X22.
Oh, yeah, never.
Yeah.
And I also...
You can talk for a minute. I'm just going through these comments.
Yeah, when it comes to X22, he does 6 days a week. He has 2 reports each day. Sometimes he does like the Saturday with a guest. He has to be a team. I mean, that's a lot of work.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely a team. Yeah, but what was I going to say? I think, you know, in the Q drops it said we will never share information outside of this board, apart from dialed in operators who have been given information. I think Dave, X22, is one of those. He was foreshadowing the Q drops about arrests are coming and this is happening and, you know, Obama and all these things. A Dutch Rumbler, Miriam, just said, where are we in the programme? The little clock is gone, so I have no idea if we're starting or ending. We were meant to have Scott McKay on today, and Elisa's in trouble for that. Well, no, it's absolutely fine. And we came on anyway, and we're just doing our thing, waffling on as usual, and we are 48 minutes in, and we shall just continue to waffle on a little bit more. I think people are saying that in the Rumble chat they can't click on each other's names and reply. Some people are having to type it out. So we're around 45 minutes. Oh, thanks, Billy.
Oh, we got a friend in the chat. Hello, Joe.
Is Joe there? Is he still on holiday?
I think he just got back this week.
He can jump on if he likes.
Yeah. Do you want a link? Joe. Let me see. I'm grabbing that link right now. If you're free, Joe, definitely come on. I'm going to text it to you. Love to see you. All right, let's see if he joins us. You know what I find really amazing about this whole military operation? That there has to be people. There's so many people involved, and that you don't hear anything. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, bless them.
Yeah, definitely. Right, well, I've caught up with the comments. Anything that's been, we're starting to see a lot of arrests. Now, these are not big name arrests, but we're seeing this a bit more public now. We presume and we hear that arrests have been going down for years and filling up Gitmo and all these other prisons around the place. But we're starting to see a lot of arrests sort of coming out now, and it's good to see, and I think it's a great sign. And we just heard that the United States Postal Service will not be delivering mail-in ballots for the midterms.
Yeah.
So I think this might run up to the midterms. I still think we're going to see some shit go down before the 4th.
I don't get too excited about anything, because remember when we didn't know what Christmas it was? We didn't know what Easter it was. So I was like, oh, it's Christmas. And then nothing would,
Yeah, I get you. But you can say it'll be done by Easter, right? And we don't know which Easter. Or everyone's going to have a really nice Christmas. And we don't know what Christmas. But there is only one July the 4th, 250-year anniversary of America. That can't be. Oh, is it next year or the year after he's talking about?
Right.
Yeah. Is this the Red October coming in?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be. Yeah. Definitely. I still think we're going to see some stuff in those 120 days that make the midterms the most awakened election we've ever seen.
It has to be, because if it's not, when?
Yeah. Exactly.
Right? All right. So, Joe, I don't know if you saw, we'd love to have you come on. I don't know if you're around.
Oh, and Antifa as well. I think 9 or 10 members of Antifa have just been sentenced to 450 years in jail.
Yeah.
Right? And the top sentencing to the people out there, some get 45 years and things like that, was 100 years. The leader got 100 years in jail. Right? Now, what's that going to say to all the milquetoast pussy Antifas that are still out there?
Yeah.
That are yet to be activated. Because Trump's going to, not an executive order, he's going to, there's so much talk about him putting out a, what am I thinking of? It's not executive order.
What do you think?
It's something like
the presidential executive.
No, it's not PED. So many people are talking about it. I wish I could remember that. What am I thinking of, people? Not an executive order. An emergency declaration or something that's closer to it.
Okay.
He's potentially put out something like that, which is why we might see the EBS and no mail-in ballots and all the rest go down for election integrity.
Okay.
I think. But yeah.
There's just so much happening. If you,
Joe can't come on, by the way, because he's
going to acupuncture.
Yeah.
There's just so much happening. I mean, even I rewatched Scott McKay's video from November 2020 saying how much has happened that we don't know. That's 2020. And by the way, the video I watched, there was 190,000 sealed indictments at that time.
Yeah, I wrote that down.
Yeah.
For a question for him today.
600 or 650. But
there's now 644,551.
There you go. However, what I was going to say is that was November 2020. We are now at June, almost July 2026. And anybody, at least part of our community or who claim to be, saying nothing's happening is just pure brain dead.
Yeah.
2020, I get. You know what I'm saying? Like we're just, and even then, there was so much when you start digging. And now we're in a completely different universe.
117%. Yes.
Yeah. But the side opery on us was pretty brilliant because so many of us were ready to just go out into the street. And they were able to maintain our calm, even though it was false sometimes, like false meaning we thought something was going to happen. We were excited, i.e. the Scooby-Doo ending at the inauguration, but they had to do that. They had to take all of us that were so, angry and frustrated, and we would have just gotten hurt or hurt each other. And they had to manage that. They had to wake up people. They had to get criminals. I mean, how do you not have a perspective on all this,
Yeah, exactly. Right. Okay. Look, you and I have both got another show today. I'm on in an hour and a half for episode 5 of Join the Queue with Charlie Foxtrot and the Maestro, and Elisa will be in the chat for that. And then Elisa's got her episode 2 tonight of Rising Through Motherhood with Emily Tarani and Laura Eisenhower. I will be in the chat for that. So yeah, it's good. So we've done an hour. We haven't had a guest on, so we might as well hop off here. And I've just changed the ending. I'm going to put that Dark to Light video on again. It's 8 minutes long. It is so good for anyone that hasn't seen it.
Yeah. All right, cool. So hopefully we'll see you guys later. Oh, we don't have a show. We don't have a Red Pilling Renee show tomorrow morning because he's on vacation, Renee.
Yeah. But we do have our Saturday chat this coming in 2 days' time, and you're all welcome to come on and join us. We see some regulars on there now. This is episode about 13, is it? Something like that. We've been doing it every other couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. We've had loads of people on. You're all welcome. The link will be going out in 11 different places, as we discussed yesterday. Was it? Yeah, it was Matt Geiger yesterday, and he didn't come on, so we had all that drama going on. But most of that's all sorted anyway. We've had a nice chat with that guy, the three-way chat. He sent us a load of stuff. There's pretty much not a lot of evidence there that backs up, what was talked about with all this cream of mana and stuff. It's interesting, people are all going down their own rabbit holes, but I don't see any proof of that. And it reminds me a lot of... what's the guy's name? Joseph Gregory Hallett, who claimed to be the King of England. Now that was interesting at the time. We all were following that story intensely, weren't we? And I think Queen Romana is a bit like that. But they both died down, and it all went quiet. So yeah, if you want to look into that, you look into that. But I've looked into it so much myself, I don't need to look at it anymore, unless, of course, Romana or Gregory Hallett both come back into the picture. Right. Then I'll go, oh, what's going on here? But at the moment, I'm not looking at things like that. So, we don't need to chat being filled up with stuff like that because it's nonsensical, really. But yeah, listen, guys, we love you all. This is one of my favourite videos done by iDrop Media. It's 8 minutes, 27 seconds long, which is a 17. And the amount of work that must have gone into this, but this says it all. So love you very much. Where we go, when we go all. I'll see you in about an hour and a half. Elisa will be in the chat. So come in and join us and we'll all have some fun. Charlie Foxtrot is in control of the cockpit. Later on. Right. See you later. Cheers, guys. Bye.
We're moving from dark to light. This is the Great Awakening. People of the world have woken up, and the light has shined on the darkness, and the darkness cannot hide from it. All the darkness can do is panic. All of the systems the darkness had in place to control us are going to crumble. The fear, the corruption, the greed, the wars and rumors of wars, the hate, the technology, media propaganda, the child trafficking, and the slave economy. All of these control systems will crumble down. The darkness will collapse in only a few countries at first, but other countries will soon follow. We will unite against the dark. How will it be walking into the light after thousands of years of darkness? It's game over for the darkness. Are you ready for the light? Welcome to the new Earth. go one, we go all.